So a little background information about me. I'm a female, Caucasian, and I live in Louisiana. This incident happened to me about a year ago. So one night, my dad and his fiancée, whom I consider my mom, were both called in to work a night shift together, so that meant I would have the house to myself. It was a Saturday night, and I was really looking forward to some alone time. I was glad my parents were going to be gone, but this night, I wish my parents had been home. I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. My dogs are very observant and protective of the household. One is a border collie mix, and the other is a pit bull. Anyway, I decided to make some dinner because I was starving. After I made myself something to eat, I decided to go back down to the living room to watch some television. After a few minutes of watching the TV, both of my dogs started growling at the back window that looked out into the backyard. Even though we had curtains over the window, they were so thin that you could see just about anything through them. My dogs were growling and barking ferociously, like they were ready to bite someone's head off if they dared walk near the door. I got up from the couch and peeked out just a tiny bit from the window to see what the dogs could possibly be growling at. That's when I saw a tall figure move from the trees towards the gate in my backyard. The shadow looked like that of a man, very tall, possibly around 6 feet. I immediately backed up away from the window, and I instantly felt horrified. Who the flying fuck would be out in my backyard? That's when I heard my backyard gate slowly open and close. I then heard someone running around the house to where the front door was. By this point, my dogs were being more psychotic than ever. I quickly ran up to the front door to make sure it was double locked, but then someone started ringing the doorbell over and over. My heart started to race 100 miles per hour at this point. I stood against the door, holding my ear up to it to see if I could hear anything. I heard a low, unsteady breathing that was that of a man. And then I heard the person call through the door in a very deep tone.
"Come, open the door, sweetie. I know you're in there. Don't hide."
All of a sudden, I felt my heart accelerate even faster, and then I realized I'd left my damn phone in the kitchen when I made dinner. I ran across the living room to the kitchen and got my phone off the table. The doorbell kept ringing non-stop, so with trembling fingers, I texted my parents what was going on, and they told me to immediately call 911. I probably should have done this in the first place, but I wasn't exactly thinking straight. I called 911, and the operator told me a police car would be there in 10 to 15 minutes, and to stay calm. I hung up and stayed in the kitchen until the cops arrived. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, 2 cop cars showed up. Of course, the man was long gone by now. They asked me for a description, but I really couldn't give them one, since I had only seen a shadow and couldn't see any of the man's features since it had been so dark outside. And they never did catch the guy who was in my backyard. My parents came home that night, and ever since, they really haven't let me stay home alone much. But in all honesty, I can definitely say this is one of the most horrifying experiences I've ever had. I'm going to give you some background information before I start this story. It was the year 2012 when this story took place, and I was 14 years old. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school. I'm 18 now and just graduated. I was 5'1", still am, and about 95 pounds. I couldn't really defend myself well, as you might imagine. Now on with the story. My best friend and I at the time were still in our scene phases. You know, Black skinny jeans, band t-shirts, big flashy wristbands, and the like. And of course, the music. Sleeping with Sirens, Pierce the Veil, Black Veil Brides, all that kind of stuff. I cringe at my past self and past music taste. Now I'm more of a pop-punk kind of person. My best friend at the time and I, let's just call her Mar for now, were heading up to Warped Tour in a nearby city in our state. My parents dropped us off at the location at the outdoor concert. We were so excited. We were looking forward to seeing all the great bands like Blood on the Dance Floor and Breathe Carolina. Gross now, I know. The line was so long, we couldn't even see the gates where we would be let in. I'm sure people who go to concerts listening to this story know what I'm talking about, and can probably get a picture in their heads. Mar and I headed to the back of the line. As we waited, we talked about how nervous we were for high school. Guys we liked, girls we weren't happy to see again, normal teenage girl talk. The line was getting longer behind us, and the people standing behind us decided to try and make small talk. We talked for a while with them about where we were from, how old we were, and who we were excited about seeing. And they stopped talking to us eventually, but the one guy in their group talked to us for the whole 4 hours we were waiting in line. No big deal, right? He's just being a bit friendly. His name was Brian, and he was 18. He was telling us about how he had graduated a few months ago, and talked about how he went to school in Portland. Then, he started asking us if we were into drugs, which I thought was a little weird. He started telling us about the time he ate some shrooms and he started hallucinating. He thought his couch was eating him. Like I stated before, he talked to us the entire time without stopping to talk to his friends behind him. Not even once. Finally, the gates opened and we were getting closer and closer to the gate. We let security check our bags and search us before we went in. Mar and I went off by ourselves, but then we heard a familiar voice behind us.
Hey, wait up!
We turned to see Brian running after us. We were confused, and we asked him what was up. He just said,
"Oh, I told my friends I was going to hang out with you two the entire concert, and that I'd meet up with them after."
Mar and I looked at each other, a little weirded out. "Okay then," we said. "Let me note that I'm a very paranoid person, and that I have anxiety disorder, so I tend to overthink situations a lot." I convinced myself that he was being friendly and that I was just freaking myself out. But there was something in the pit of my stomach that was just telling me there was something weird about this guy. He's 18 and just graduated high school. Why would he want to hang out with two 14-year-old girls that were fresh out of middle school? I managed to calm myself. For those of you who don't know, Warped Tour has multiple bands playing at a time, so you can easily walk from one stage to another between shows to see other bands. Mar, Brian, and I were doing this. We expected him to stop following us, because Mar and I started to walk away whenever he wasn't paying attention, on purpose, to see if we could lose him. It didn't work. He was getting creepier and creepier as time passed. He kept calling us cuties and kept poking our sides. It was starting to really weird me out, but then I realized my favorite band was playing at another stage. We booked it to the Skull Candy stage and watched my favorite band play. As we were standing in this crowd, as you fellow concertgoers know, things can get a little tight and very personal. It was shoulder to shoulder, but most people try and make as much space as they can, so no one is stepping on each other's feet. Mar and I were standing next to each other, and Brian was standing behind us in the crowd. We started to jump as the band started playing. Brian was standing uncomfortably close behind us. Like I said, most people try to make as much space as they can, but he wasn't. Our asses were literally rubbing on his crotch area, and we tried to move forward a little bit so it would stop, but he just kept moving closer. I didn't see this part, but Mar said he grabbed her around the waist in the crowd. After the band was done performing, Mar grabbed my hand and we booked it out of there. We finally lost him at this point. Mar and I were walking around and looking at things, such as merch to buy, but someone tapped our shoulders. Guess who? Yup, you guessed it. Brian. We flashed fake smiles and said hey, and he replied with,
"Hey, I thought I lost you guys."
Mar replied with, "Yeah, sorry, we couldn't find you after the set." We were stuck with him for a few minutes, and he continued being weird, like calling us cuties, beautiful, tickling us, and things like that. Mar and I looked at each other with a mutual understanding of what we had to do. Mar said, "Hey, another band we like is playing," without giving him a chance to reply. She grabbed my hand and we ran. We zigzagged through the crowds and flat out ran as fast as we could, until we were out of breath and until our lungs were burning. We looked back and there was no sign of him. We high-fived while panting like dogs. We finally lost him for good, but throughout our entire day we were terrified of running into him again, and it felt like we were being watched, like he was lurking in the crowds. So creepy guy who followed me at Warped Tour, let's never meet again. When I was in college, I didn't have a car, so I walked everywhere. I had a friend that lived near an underdeveloped neighborhood near the largest public university in Ohio. It's now since changed, of course, with time. Anyways, I never had a problem when I walked to her house, until one day, when on a whim I decided to go visit her. As I headed out, I called her and asked if she would be home. She said that she would be getting off shortly if I just wanted to meet her at her apartment. I was okay with that since I skipped class and was bored from sitting in the house all day. Let me tell you how our apartments were set up, as it will make more sense later in the story. Basically, they were 2 separate buildings with about 8 apartments that contained 2 individual apartments that had an upstairs and downstairs unit. The buildings had a huge parking lot that the 2 shared. Each apartment had a shared front entry that locked, then its own individual door once you passed the main entry. Anyway, I started off towards her house, business as usual. I love talking on the phone while I walk, as it makes the time and distance go faster. As I got near a fast food restaurant, I saw a tall black man standing near the front of the drive-thru. It looked as though he were asking for change from the cars pulling into the drive, so when I saw him, I immediately crossed the street because I didn't really want to talk to him. By the way, I'm black too, so it wasn't anything racial. I just had this funny feeling. So I crossed the street and had just gotten to the corner when I hear yelling coming from behind me. Of course, with me being on the phone, I didn't think it was pertaining to me, so I continued to walk. I got maybe 2 houses down the street when I heard someone talking loudly behind me. I turned around, and it was the guy from the drive-thru. He appeared to be following me, but was still a ways behind me. I told my cousin who I was speaking with on the phone about the guy, and she dismissed the idea that the man was following me, so I just kept walking at a leisurely pace. Maybe 5 houses down, I heard a voice say,
"You bitch. You hear me talking to you? I should kill you, you stupid bitch."
I tried to ignore what was being said and still talk to my cousin, but something told me to look back. When I did, I felt my heart drop out of my chest. The guy from the drive-thru had gained on me and was looking right at me. He wasn't on the phone, and there was no one else around. I just knew then and there that this nut was talking about me. I think I silently screamed into the phone because my cousin asked me what the fuck was going on. I told her that the guy had said he was going to kill me. Maybe it was the tone of my voice or the fact that this guy had now followed me to almost the end of the block, but she told me to move faster and to get to my friend's house immediately, so I started to speed walk. All the while, I hear this guy saying the things he would do to me, including rape and torture me. I had gotten up the cross street that separated her block from the block I was on, and started running. Her apartment complex was 2 houses past the cross street. As I started running, I heard running footsteps behind me. I screamed into the phone with my cousin, as I could hear her screaming too. My friend's apartment was on the left side, 3rd row down, so I quickly sprinted into the middle of the parking lot and turned around. There he stood, at the sidewalk, maybe 10 feet away. I thought that since he saw I had reached my destination, he would leave. No. He stood there staring at me, all while saying,
"Bitch, you heard me talking to you."
I promise I've never been so scared in my life. Usually her apartment complex is full of people, but it seemed like we were the only 2 there. As I stood there, looking at him looking at me, I knew he wasn't done with me. I saw him start towards me, when a door slammed and a young couple from the right side of the complex emerged. It seemed to get the man's attention, and I wasted no time running into my friend's main door and locking it. I told my cousin I was safe and disconnected the phone. I called my friend and told her about the nut outside. She told me to stay in the apartment until she got there, and when she finally came, she told me she didn't see any weird black guy outside. I was so relieved. I honestly don't know what I would have done if that man had caught me. I do know that I never walked to her house again after that. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end here. We just passed 20,000 subscribers today, which is a huge milestone for me. I mean, when I first started this, I never thought I'd get that far, and now I had 10,000 like a week ago, and it's already pretty much doubled, so thank you guys so much for that. To all you new subscribers, welcome. I'm very glad to have you here, and I hope you enjoy your stay. If you guys liked the video, please feel free to leave a comment, and possibly like and share if you feel so inclined. If you have a story you'd like me to read, or a personal story you'd like to send in, links to my social media will be in the description below. And this includes my Facebook, Gmail, and Twitter accounts. Feel free to send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to include your story in a video as soon as possible. If you do decide to send in a story, please make sure to include in the tagline how you'd like to be credited if the story is used in a video, and also what the theme of the story is, if it has any. If you guys are curious about the music in the video, and all of my videos, the music will be listed in the description, in the order in which it appears, by name, and I'll have a link to the artist as well. So if you guys are curious about the music, just look down there in the description. If you have any constructive criticism, please feel free to leave it in the comments below, as I'm always looking for new ways to improve the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.